Hello and welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and joining us today, 5 episodes later from episode number 500, it is your very own PALPAKELLI.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back, PALPAKELLI. Thank you so much for being on episode 500 and for being on 505 today, since I know you are battling a bit of a cold, along with everyone else. It seems like everyone's getting sick.
Just in the air. I'm pretty sure I've been sick since January, so 4 months later, here we are.
Along with Leo, that's right. But if this is your very first episode, the way we format the show is we go through a block of news, then we head into the Brokehead block, which is what PALPAKELLI and I have been doing since you last heard us. And we ended with the call to action, so we're going to have a little discount code for you at the very end of this episode. So let's jump right in and explore sector number 505. We've got some Nintendo news this week as we had a major leak. Game Boy and Game Boy Advance emulators for the Nintendo Switch developed by Nintendo went up online accidentally, and it looks like a long list of games including Mario Kart, Golden Sun, Pokemon Pinball, Ruby and Sapphire. All of these have been tested on it. Someone hacked it and was able to use it. I saw the video of it.
Sure, they hacked it. Nintendo didn't leak this themselves to get us all excited.
They're not like that. Nintendo's an odd company. You figured that'd be like a great marketing strategy, but they're more the kind of company that's like, and it's out now, here. Like, they just put it out.
Here it is, buy it.
They'll have a Nintendo Direct, and in the Nintendo Direct, they'll say, now available on your console. This was all leaked from a Twitter user.
Trash Bandicoot, what a great name. Good for them. Tweeted this week that 4 titles leaked on 4chan, which included emulators in development by Nintendo Europe Research and Development.
Another Twitter account, Rathgorl Hunter, went further and started tweeting actual camera footage of the emulators booting up and running on their Nintendo Switch.
Cool. Because it's available now. They just haven't said so.
It's kind of a funny thing. Before, when the Nintendo 64 controllers were made available, they found that in the coding, they made certain controllers all of a sudden compatible with certain games, and one of them was the N64 controller. So that's how people were able to figure out that those controllers were coming out, or something like that was releasing, or at least an adapter. And then now they do something similar with this. Sometimes Nintendo will have the entire program already up, hidden in the code, and people find ways to get it. Similar energy to Snyder Cut fans, where we figure out things.
Of course, you analyze the stars in the coffee shops.
And they do that with gaming, and they find fucking emulators. Now it's just a matter of when they actually make this available, how much it's going to cost, if it's going to be a part of the Nintendo Switch online pricing, which I think is probably what we're going to be seeing. But we do have a leaked list of Game Boy Advance games that include titles like The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap, Metroid Fusion, that's my favorite Metroid game, Fire Emblem: The Sacred Stones, Mega Man Battle Network 2, and more.
I think it's smart. I think you could charge almost whatever you wanted for people to play these nostalgic games. Let me tell you right now, I own all the Pokemon games for Game Boy Color. If they released them here, fuck yeah, I'm going to play them. Just buy them again.
I wouldn't have the time, to be honest with you, to play any of these, but it is a great catalog of titles. The Game Boy Advance library was one of the best. It is considered by many to be some of the best times that gamers had in going in and playing games. That was when I was still up in Illinois, and my brother he was a huge on the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance SP was a big deal because it had the lit screen on it, which for people like us who used to play with the glares on the screens and everything.
Well, no, you had to play at night in the car in between the street lights.
Yeah, that's right.
or you had to get that little cheesy light that plugged in.
That terrible worm light that did nothing. Or the magnifying glass. I used to see those that would go over your screen and it would make it a lot bigger.
Good times. You say you don't have time to play these, though. I really don't think that's accurate. The cool thing about the Switch, at least the one that we have, right, is it works really well as at handheld or on the TV, and you just pick it up and you play for a few minutes, and then you can put it down. And I'm sure, and I don't know this, but I'm sure it saves wherever you're at. So let's say you play for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you put it back down. When you pick it back up, it's probably in the same spot.
I still don't see the Nintendo. I know it is a handheld, especially with how people play it, but that's not how I like to play the Nintendo Switch. I don't like to play games on my phone. I don't like to play. If there were a Game Boy Advance right now, like a line of those, I don't know if I probably wouldn't buy one because I don't game on the go anymore. I don't game in general, Kelly. Like that's really the honest truth of it.
I don't game on the go either, but I love playing the Switch as a handheld.
Well,
it's fun to just, like Leo's watching TV, I can just take it in the other room and sit down and play for 30 minutes until I hear, Mom, I'm hungry, and then put it down and keep going with my life.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're able to play Nintendo Switch.
Is there any game that they could release in this that you would say, okay, now I have to get it? Not a single game.
Not a single one. I don't think so. No, there's not a Game Boy Advance. Like, I know it is a great lineup of titles, but my brother was more of the Game Boy guy. Like, I really liked Astro Boy. That was an amazing game from Atlas. And I used to play that all the time. Even if they released that, I'd be like, all right. And I remember having great times with it, but not enough to go back. The only game that maybe I'd go back and play would be Star Fox 64. Mm-hmm. That came out on the Nintendo Switch's online service, and I haven't signed up for that either. I haven't gone out and gotten an N64 controller to play it. The Nintendo DS, 3DS version, I really want to play. Scott and I always look for that game when we go to Target, and they stopped printing it. I don't know why we still look. But that one remade the original N64 one. If they released that one to be able to play on the TV, that'd be awesome. Because I remember on the 3DS, it was very difficult to play an N64 game with the 3DS controls. I just couldn't do it. As a guy that spent hours playing the N64 title, it just wasn't for me. And then Star Fox Zero, thankfully Bobby let me borrow that one. And that was like the next... we almost got Star Fox, and then they fucked it up with the motion controllers that they had to put in there. So the last close thing that we could have had was the 3DS version.
What about the Phoenix Wright games?
Those are up on PS3 now. You can buy the whole collection for, Scott was saying, less than $25. Even the latest Phoenix Wright game that we started on Nintendo Switch, I didn't get back to it. And now I don't remember what the case was, and I can never play it again.
That's because I keep falling asleep. Those games put me to sleep. We'll pick it back up. I'll probably remember what the case is. We'll solve it. Whatever.
The only Marvel movies we follow are the Sony ones, and Sony Pictures has delayed Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is the sequel to the Academy Award-winning Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
It was originally set to release October 7th, 2022, and has been pushed back to June 2nd, 2023.
It was initially called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. They dropped the Part 1, so Part 2 is probably going to be called something else entirely, but they still do plan on doing those back-to-back. Reacting to Sony's Spider-Verse delay on Twitter, producer and co-writer Chris Miller tweeted with a spider emoji, quote, "More time to make it great," end quote.
That's a good way to look at it. The sequel is still set to release March 29th, 2024, so less than a year after Part 1.
People also went to one of the other writers, it might have been the director, his Twitter, and shortly after this delay, he put out a tweet that was LOL over and over again, and people were like, what the fuck? And then he had to follow that back up with, this has nothing to do with Spider-Verse.
Sure. Sure it doesn't.
You think it's Spider-Verse related? Like they pissed them off or something?
I don't know, maybe. Like, why would you just put that out?
There's no context, though. It's just LOL constantly.
I don't know. So hopefully they're just pushing it back. I think for two reasons. One, yes, more time to make it better. But two, to also get it closer to the release of the second. And maybe they've heard that something else is coming out in October and they don't want to have to compete with that. I don't know. I'm glad it's not canceled. I'm glad we are getting these two movies because I really enjoyed the first one and Leo did as well. So this is something great as he begins to love superheroes a little bit more. He's going to be a great age to really enjoy these also.
The Netflix numbers were all over Twitter and Facebook, blaming inflation and the banning of Russian accounts. Netflix lost 200,000 subscribers in its first quarter. This is the first loss, from what I read, that they had reported in years.
By 200,000, they mean 500,000 from all the shared accounts.
Well, I thought you were referencing the because they actually lost 700,000 from the Russian ban. What happened is they stopped Russian accounts from accessing Netflix. And of course, that would lose them a ton of subscribers. Ended up being 700,000. They gained 500,000 this quarter, but minus the 700,000, they lost 200,000. So I know a lot of people are very quick to talk about the password sharing thing, how their prices are up and how shows are getting canceled, but that's been happening for months. And that hasn't resulted in like last quarter's loss either.
Mhm.
So I personally do think it is mainly because of the Russian. Now this is going to snowball because now one of their biggest investors pulled out a shit ton of money after this loss. A lot of people placed a put option on them and made a lot of money after they reported all these losses. So I do think that it's going to have an ongoing effect, unfortunately, for the streaming service. If Russia hadn't done that stuff, I do think that Netflix would have still reported those $500,000 subscriber gain.
For sure. And many companies are pulling away from Russia, understandably, and they're all going to take hits based on those things. Like, it's just inevitable. And so, yes, we're going to sit here and report, ooh, they had all these losses, but is that kind of what so many other companies are seeing? And so are we going to start reporting all the money and things they're losing because of it? And does Netflix really regret, okay, yes, we have this negative effect, right? But at the end of the day, it boils down to what do they feel is right? And if they're putting a ban on or a stop on Russian accounts, obviously it's a political and moral thing, right? And so would their decision have changed either way, even knowing what they know now? I'm going to say probably not.
So maybe they would have reconsidered it. Wall Street sent Netflix's stock tumbling 26% after the bell on Tuesday and erased about $40 billion of its stock market value. $40 billion? I got to tell you, if I were Netflix, I don't know. I might have been like $440 billion. I might have regretted that.
Really?
I might have gotten fired if I was that guy that made that decision.
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think that this was probably a decision that came from multiple levels up the chain. And at the end of the day, what is worth more, morals and values or money? And okay, you're sitting here looking at it from a money perspective, but how many more people could they ultimately have stand to lose if they hadn't made that decision?
Lose from people that are like, I'm stopping Netflix because you think they would have lost that many subscribers? I
think it's a possibility. I hear continued talks when I'm out and about and through Facebook and different things about people who are boycotting other companies because they haven't pulled out of that situation. And I don't know. I think it could have happened. But at the end of the day, Netflix will rebuild. Please. They've already shown like they started something new. Like Netflix started something completely new that we've never seen before. They've become a staple. They're going to continue to regrow that and still do those things. And again, they're doing this for moral and political reasons, right? And so I still think they would have made the same decision, even knowing how many people they lost. Because, okay, yes, 40 billion gone, but how many billions do they still have? Okay? And really, what's 40 billion in respect to however many billions?
That they have, or trillions,
right.
Or whatever.
It's like saying I lost 40 cents to my dollar.
I don't know if it's quite that to them.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing this out there. I still think they would have made the same decision, and I support them for it.
People are also saying that this is an opportunity for another streaming service to quickly move into that number one spot.
Not going to happen.
You don't think so? You
Nope.
don't think HBO Max or Paramount or one of them is going to rise up, gain some subscribers out of this?
I don't, because, again, most of those, they still reported positive subscribers. The subscribers that they lost were the ones that they shut off their accounts and said, you can't have an account with us. You're not a cool kid anymore. You can't. So I really think it'll be many, many, many years before Netflix is not the staple in a household for streaming services. I think there's other really great streaming services that we should definitely be supportive of. I mean, obviously we have multiple streaming services, but I still think Netflix will forever be a staple. Like, our parents think Netflix is the only streaming service, right? They're like, oh yeah, pull up Netflix. Well, that's not on Netflix, Mom. Oh, well, what's it on? So I definitely think it will continue. This looks bad on paper, but I don't think it's as bad as they're blowing it up to be. You can tell me if I'm wrong. I know nothing about stocks. I know zero things.
Well, maybe Warner Brothers Discovery will be the streaming service that takes over in 5-10 years. And that company, according to a new report, WBD is aware that DC Entertainment is not utilized enough in the gaming space.
Over the last decade, the only AAA DC games that have been released are the Batman Arkham games, 2 Injustice games, some LEGO titles, and the Telltale Batman series. The Wonder Woman game is still a few years away.
In a new report from Variety, which claims Warner Brothers Discovery is looking to overhaul DC Entertainment, it was revealed that the company believes it needs to do more to grow the comic book brand. So which DC property or character should they move forward with a video game? Should they try to regain some of that Lego licensing because they did lose that recently?
What?
Warner Brothers, or there was that rumor that they were trying to completely sell off the Warner Brothers gaming division?
I definitely think they need to get Lego licensing back. The Lego games are so much fun. They're a great family game. So like you and I can enjoy playing it, but now Leo plays it with you too, and he enjoys that. And it might be a little frustrating for you, but but as a 4-year-old, that's a lot of fun. So I think the Lego games are always great. I really don't care about anybody but Batman.
Mm-hmm.
We could just keep on making Batman games forever. But I do think that there's definitely a market for more games. I want to play a Harley Quinn game. That'd be fun. I don't know.
Harley solo?
Yeah.
When they list out these games like that, where they talk about Lego, Injustice, Batman, it does really look like a small list compared to what the fuck they own. They own some of the biggest superheroes in the world, and they've only released a handful of games. And I know it's not easy to release a great game, but you figure they would have tried to put this out to several studios to try to get other titles made and see which ones hit and which ones don't. Try to get maybe a different style and variety of games. Try to figure out a 2D type of game that you can release as a digital only and see what happens. So it's kind of neat that Warner Brothers Discovery is seeing that that's been lacking on the Warner Brothers side. They've obviously taken a deep look before they bought up Warner Brothers of, okay, this is where there's a potential to make a lot of money, and that's in the gaming space. They're talking about the movie side now with the DC Extended Universe and what kind of changes they make there, whether it's firing Walter Hamada or who knows. But obviously there's another bit of so many of their movies have flopped. The latest Pattinson movie was a disappointment for them on the box office. They were expecting $1 billion, didn't happen. And so there's a lot of that conversation happening of, well, what do we need to restructure? What do we need to capitalize on? And I think David Zaslav hopefully is smart enough to like money enough to do make the changes that need to happen, and not the changes that he wants to see, but rather the ones that he knows are going to be profitable.
I agree. I like that they're coming in there and saying, where do we have opportunity? What can we do to expand these things? Because I'll definitely say you and I used to enjoy gaming a lot. You played a lot of games. I used to watch you. But even now, having a 4-year-old, I see a bigger need for fun games that he can enjoy, right? Or that we can enjoy with him. And right now, he is very into those superheroes. He's always asking me, can we download a Batman game? And there's not a Batman game for a 4-year-old. So I would love to see more things. He plays Teeny Titans on the iPad, and that one's actually a lot of fun. I do enjoy that one. But it's based off Teen Titans Go, and I know so many people hate that franchise. I don't know why. It's great. But yeah, there is definitely an opportunity. And when we've talked about this before, that one of the things we loved about the Arkham Asylum series is you felt like Batman. And I've always wanted to see something like that for Superman, right? Make a game where I feel like Superman. If we're talking a Wonder Woman game, make a game where I feel like Wonder Woman. Even a Green Lantern game would be super cool, going to different worlds and, you know, flying around, shooting people, and you could design your lantern or whatever. There's lots of opportunity for so many different things, and I hope that they take advantage of it.
The Green Lantern game would be cool. Like you were saying, make your own alien species and go through the ranks. So you start off training with Kilowog, and then as you continue in the game and progress, you start working with some of the more important or bigger lanterns. And there's so many characters that you can have in there. It could be like a Dynasty Warriors type of, not necessarily that game, but where you can take down hordes of enemies, and you can use all of the lanterns, different combos to make like a boxing, whatever you want to do.
It'd be cool to do a game kind of like Fire Emblem, where you had your different lanterns and you built your team, and like the Green Lantern feeds off the blue one, so maybe you have to pair them up everywhere you go and be really strategic with it. And I think that'd be a lot of fun. Make it happen! There's
tons of ideas, tons of potentials. Like, I know it's not marketable, but a Constantine game where, like an Arkham style game, where you go around, you have to talk to people, get clues, go to the next area, and then you have to fight demons sometimes. Like, I think that would be kind of neat, like almost a noir style type of open world Constantine game, but that would be expensive to make, and not everyone would be all aboard on
you throw Lucifer in there, Tom Ellis Lucifer, and I'm there. I'll buy that game just for Tom Ellis Lucifer.
You and the 100 Moms.
Yeah, and Olive Garden. Can't forget
That's
Olive Garden.
Yeah, Olive Garden. We did get latest casting talks as Zack Snyder's Justice League star Jason Momoa is in talks with Warner Brothers to lead in a movie adaptation of Microsoft's Minecraft. I like this idea. If I weren't boycotting Warner Brothers already, I would be there day one to support Microsoft Minecraft, the movie. I'd be watching it, and hopefully by then we will have restored the the Snyderverse so that I could go and see a Microsoft Minecraft movie.
How do you make a Minecraft movie?
Well, they can go the animated route. They could. I don't think it's going to be live action at all. I think he's going to voice the main character.
But what do you do in Minecraft?
Anything you want. The story is whatever you make. Like, it's a Lego movie. It's like, what do you do in a Lego movie? It's Lego. Well, it's the same kind of concept with Minecraft. You build your own little world and you go mining for materials.
Yeah, but like the Lego movies have characters.
So the
Like,
Minecraft, they have like
what?
Steve is the main guy. They've got the
Steve?
zombies.
I clearly know nothing
they
about
were in
Minecraft.
Smash Brothers.
I'm so old. I didn't even know they were in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Last I heard from Smash Brothers, Sora showed up, and I was like, this game could get no perfect. That's it. No more.
Well, they were still whining and complaining. Like, well, what about this character?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Cory in the house and Goku.
That's right.
Where are they at?
We're Superman. I know there's a movie franchise that you really liked, and that was Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm sure you'd be there day one for the next one.
Sure would be.
If it weren't a reboot, because I heard that's the last thing they were doing.
Well, not anymore, because Johnny Depp has said that there is nothing Disney could offer to get him to return to Pirates of the Caribbean, and he was the only reason I watched it.
So during cross-examination in the defamation trial against his ex-wife, Amber Turd, on Wednesday, Depp admitted that he did not want to return to the franchise, which saw the actor play one of the most memorable roles, Captain Jack Sparrow, as you were saying. Probably what he's going to be known for, yeah.
Memorable role, Captain Jack Sparrow. So Depp is currently suing Heard for $50 million, claiming that accusations Heard made in 2018 Washington Post op-ed, despite never mentioning Depp's name, destroyed his career and reputation.
Depp's lawyer, Rottenborn, asked him, quote, "The fact is, Mr. Depp, if Disney came to you with $300 million and 1 million alpacas, nothing on this earth would get you to go back and work with Disney on a Pirates of the Caribbean film, correct?" And Depp replied with, quote, "That is true, Mr. Rottenborn," end quote.
That is so sad.
300, I think you'd do it for 300 million. He needs money.
And 1 million alpacas, but he'd have to use all that money to feed the alpacas.
Is he huge on alpacas?
I don't know.
He loves them, I guess.
Probably.
You should know. You're the Depp
a lot
person.
of not anymore. I kind of lost touch with him when he became super weird. But it's no surprise to anybody when I say that he was the one who carried those films. So if they don't have him, they're going to have to do a reboot, because you can't have a Pirates of the Caribbean without Jack Sparrow, and you can't recast Jack Sparrow because nobody's going to go. I'm not going to go see it.
What if they do the Young Adventures of Jack Sparrow and they cast some young guy?
No, it's not Johnny Depp. And the reason that Jack Sparrow worked so well and that the other movies haven't been as successful is because they gave us too much Jack Sparrow. You needed just enough that he was a mystery, and they're trying to unravel all his mysteries. Nobody wants to see that. We all want him to be a mystery.
Was the last one the mermaid one?
Yeah, I think so.
Or did they do another one after?
No, I think the last one was the mermaid one. That was that mermaid. Oh, no, the last one.
Because you don't see the mermaid, because there was that little priest guy who falls in love with the mermaid,
Mm-hmm.
and then you never see their story. Instead, in the sequel, it's what's his name coming back along with Barbosa and Elizabeth, right? And also Will Turner, and that's the one where Barbosa dies.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the last one. Because I remember seeing that. I'm like, oh, we never got to see what happened with those two other fucking characters that no one gave a shit about.
Yeah, I don't think you ever see that. You did get the mermaids and the bride, which was pretty cool because they're pretty creepy. But yeah, the last thing that the only thing I remember of that whole last movie was Barbosa being like, the stars or something. I don't remember. And then
he was talking about treasure and how she was the treasure. And then he falls and dies.
They could make another Barbosa movie. I'd watch The Young Adventures of Barbosa, but it has to be Jeffrey Rush, and he has to be as old as he is now, but playing a younger guy.
So you're saying they pull The Irishman, where they de-aged all the
No, don't
actors?
de-age. Leave him as he is. Just tell us he's younger, and I would believe it.
I think that there's a franchise there, obviously, with Pirates of the Caribbean,
For sure.
with the iconic ride. that they could continue to do. They could actually get away with trying to do like an animated series and have someone else voice Jack Sparrow. And
Yeah.
like, look, there he is. They
Yeah.
could try to get away with it that way, do a 3D animated show. Disney is obviously not. If they're going to do another Tron starring the great Jared Leto, which is awesome, I can't wait for that. Yeah, it's a sequel to Tron Legacy.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed Tron Legacy. So.
Me too. And that one didn't do great.
Right.
And we were like, okay, well, that's it for Tron. Because this loud minority of people that were asking for Tron and a sequel for it, all of them, I guess, came out, but it was a small amount of tickets. It wasn't a great amount of tickets. Not to justify the cost that went into Tron Legacy. But they're still moving forward with a third one. So, of course, we're going to see more Pirates of the Caribbean. I think that is absolutely happening, especially if they keep mentioning how Depp doesn't want to come back to the franchise. So there's obviously been talks. He's probably been, before all of this happened, he was probably offered something else.
If they reboot it, I'll probably go see the first one. I'm not going to lie. I did enjoy that franchise enough. What are you laughing at me?
I just came up with the idea, like Tom Holland as Jack Sparrow.
No.
They're going to do that.
Such a baby. That franchise was a big enough part of my high school life. I forget what year it came out, but definitely the majority of my younger years that I would definitely, I would go see it if they did a reboot. If they bring out another one and Johnny Depp's not in it, or they recast Jack Sparrow, or it's let's CGI him down. No, not going to see it. Not about that, because then you're just going to have all these characters that I don't like, unless Barbossa comes back, but he's not going to come back because he's died 3 times now.
Well, then he could come back, actually. He could die a 4th time.
If they brought back Davy Jones, I might see it. I did like him with his little tentacle face and his popping noises that he made randomly.
Last bit of news this week is one that I know the Snyderverse community retweeted this, and I put it up online, and no one else seemed to talk about it, though. I didn't see anyone make an article out of it on comicbook.com or anything like that. So I was a little surprised, because in what looks to be a not so hidden threat to Zack Snyder, Flashpoint Beyond #0, that just came out about 2 weeks ago. It's a single issue comic, features dialogue written by the Snake, Jeff Johns, from a character, our ex-friend, remember him? And we had to cut ties with him.
Yep, I had forgotten all about him because I just blocked him from my memory.
So this dialogue comes from a character that's sitting on the Snyderverse Batmobile, which is already kind of interesting. Like, why would he want that Snyderverse Batmobile when he's very much not a friend of Zack's? And this is what the dialogue said.
Quote, Dr. Hunter's going to have us change your history. I can already guess how, too. And boy, it will be something. So don't say I didn't warn you, Mr. Wayne. You just opened a can of worms, and we're going to make you eat them. End quote.
So on its surface right there, it's already kind of weird. Sitting on the Snyderverse Batmobile talking about changing history. He co-wrote the Flash film, which changes the Snyderverse's history, as we know, where now we know Clark Kent, Zod shoots the baby ship that his mom sends off. And so Superman's dead in this iteration. And instead, it's Kara Zor-El who comes to Earth, and she's the superwoman of Earth, and she's a Kryptonian, and she has the big fight with Zod, just like in Man of Steel, but she doesn't kill him. She sends him off into the Phantom Zone, and they rewrote that completely. So that's what's happening in this Flash film, and it sucks, but it's also not canon. So we decide what's canon as fans. So that already fits, right? Okay, this dialogue from Jeff, one of the writers, telling Zack that he's changing history sitting on the Snyderverse mobile. The panel also features, if you're like, oh, well, how do you know he's talking about the Flash? The panel features the Keaton mobile prominently right behind it. There's only 2 Batmobiles, the Snyderverse one and the Batman Keaton one, who is featured in the Flash. He is going to appear in that film. And the Flash uses the Speed Force to rewrite the Snyderverse to where their characters and the actors that they want to be the future of the DC Universe are going to be that. I showed you the panel. Does it seem it's not a tinfoil hat moment? Like, there's way too many clues, right?
Yeah, so what this whole thing felt like to me was we're in high school again, and we have a high school project where we have to write something, and we're going to call out our ex-friend because we're not friends anymore. And I'm going to read this in front of the whole class so they know what a shitty person you are. That's what it felt like. And I was like, really, Jeff Johns? Are we 15? again.
I'm surprised he wouldn't think that we would immediately pick up on this.
Oh, he knows that you're going to pick up on it. He just didn't give a shit, and he just wants to be immature and voice his opinion and use his professional medium to voice his personal opinion and his personal feelings. And I will never get behind that, because personal feelings and work should not be combined in that way, to say, "Ooh, I was slighted." Like, you don't see Zack Snyder in every movie he makes now to throw some comment in there about how people wronged him.
There is a villain spider lady in Rebel Moon called Harmata. So there's that.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but probably does. Anyway, I digress. It's just really immature. It comes across just so unprofessional and just makes him look even worse in my eyes, if that were possible, right? If that's a thing, because whether or not he thinks he did anything wrong with where he is, like, throwing it out in this way and making it so blatantly obvious is wrong. That's not what you do with what you have. And what did it do? What better story could have been told if he hadn't brought his personal feelings into this and made it a statement for himself, not a statement of the world we live in, which comics do, which, you know, I'm supportive of in most cases, but a statement of his own personal disappointment. I don't know exactly how to phrase that, but it's just very unprofessional. And he's 15. So
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense with a lot of the creators he works with. Obviously, he is a juggernaut in the comic industry. He has a lot of friends. That's where he came from. That's where that run of Green Lantern that I adore, 9 years of Green Lantern, he wrote all of that with a bunch of creators like Ethan Van Sciver. And you notice that a lot of these people that he worked with, or that are in the comic industry, that would have had any interaction with Jeff, are the ones that are on Twitter slamming the Snyderverse. And it's like, that's not a coincidence. And it doesn't just happen that every comic creator that was involved with Jeff at some point all hated the Snyder movies. And then, so what's nice is the movement has organized itself in a way, the Snyderverse movement, to where anytime someone tweets negatively about these movies, especially if it's a comic creator, we immediately jump on them. And that's where they're like, oh, here comes the cult. And it's like, well, we're going to fucking fight this narrative, because fuck you. If we let it go, that's what happened back in 2016, 2017. And RT Snyder Cut's tweeting about that all the time of, we now have to shape the narrative, because we allowed the bloggers and the reviewers to put out that narrative of, you remember, it's too dark, it's too grim, it needs to be fun. Why can't they be, they're comic book superhero movies. Do they have to be this serious? And us as movie and Batman and good storytelling enjoyers are like, yes, why can't this medium be elevated?
Right.
Why not? It's not just for kids, it's for everyone. So I'm happy to see, like, it's not too little too late. As we're seeing, we were able to get the Snyder Cut. It sounds like we're restoring the Snyderverse. I do still think it's already happened. I think it's a matter of time. A couple years before they start filming, he's got to finish Rebel Moon. He's got to work on Army of the Dead, the show and the sequel and all of that. Finish up his stuff with Netflix, and then all of these actors have to get recontracted, which I'm sure is in the process of happening now before they announce that they are doing this sequel. And I think they'll announce it late this year if we get it this year, as far as any news about it. But we are in that moment of, fuck that. Like, yeah, let's argue against any fucking asshole that's gonna put up nonsense about every week it's something. This week it's about Jonathan Kent. I want to talk to you about that as a parent. There's that scene where in Man of Steel, he's talking to little Clark Kent, and this is right after he saved the bus full of the kids, and he pushes it up, and he got seen by someone, and he runs away or whatever. And it shows up in the newspaper as someone miraculously saving the kids and pushing the bus up from the lake. And Clark says, what did you want me to do, Dad? Let them die? And his dad says, maybe. And he goes on to talk about responsibility being his safety, the safety of his son being the most important thing. He doesn't go on to talk about, you're going to go and be a hero, and right now is not the time. In that thing, he's talking as a dad. He's more concerned with, maybe, I don't know, maybe let them die because I value your life. He's not, or maybe not. He doesn't know the answer, but he's telling him as a parent, I care more about you as my son than I do about whether or not you need to be going out there saving everyone.
And so is the argument, oh, he shouldn't have told his son, like, not to save people?
They read that scene as Jonathan Kent saying, no, you shouldn't have saved them. Like, let them die. And to them, that's not their Jonathan Kent, is what they are implying. That's not out of character for him. Let me put up the actual dialogue because I don't have it memorized.
While you're pulling it up, I guess I can kind of share how I interpret that was a hard thing for Jonathan Kent to say, though, to say, well, maybe, like, I don't know if you should have or shouldn't have. Yes, he's definitely thinking of Clark's safety first. And what would happen if they did discover, what was he, 8, 9, 10, 11, I don't know, a young boy pushing a bus out of a lake? What's the government going to do to him? You know that there's somebody out there who's going to say, well, let's take this kid and study him and dissect him and take him away from his parents and all this love and the things that he's known. Because that's how fucked up people are. And so as a parent, would you want to keep your kid from that, even if it meant the harm of other people? I'm going to be an asshole and say yes. Like, is there anything that I wouldn't do for my child? And people who are writing these articles just, I don't know, just want to be stupid and point out, oh, this is bad.
So the full quote is Jonathan Kent is saying, I know you did, but we talked about this, right? We talked about this. He's yelling at his son. And he calms himself, Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret. And Clark says, what was I supposed to do? He's 13. Just let them die. And Jonathan Kent says, maybe. But there's more at stake here than our lives or the lives of those around us. When the world finds out what you can do, it's going to change everything. Our beliefs, our notions of what it means to be human, everything. You saw how Pete's mom reacted, right? She was scared, Clark. And that's when they go on to talk about how people are afraid of things they don't understand. Mm-hmm. So Clark is going at Jonathan is going at this is bigger than this school bus of kids.
Right.
This is the world, the history changing. God on earth. And you see it in BVS. It does change the world.
Absolutely. Yeah. All sorts of people just got crazy when they found out. For sure. But I just circle back to, even as a parent, right? Even if it didn't impact the whole world, but his son is his world, right? Our son is my world. Like, if there was something that was going to impact him, would I choose his safety over the safety of probably anybody else in the world?
Right.
Absolutely. And I feel like I can say that with confidence. Like, anybody who's a parent who loves their kid to that degree, and I think it's even more impactful that he loves him to this degree, because that's not, I mean, it's his kid, right? But it's his adopted child. And he loves him that much to say, no, you are more important to me than the world, than a school bus full of other kids, and literally anything. He would choose him over anybody else.
Right.
And that's the sentiment that I get. And I think that's what they're trying to portray. And so for people to be like, but Jonathan Kent wants to kill children, like, that's not it at all. And if you're throwing that out there, you're just trying to antagonize and to cause an argument. And are you a parent? Can you sit there and think about your kid? And what would you do if this was your kid on the line who would potentially be targeted, right? And stolen away from you and gone at 13 years old, and you never knew anything of your child after that, right? No.
And that's something that Martha tells him when he's old. She says, I don't want them to take you away.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Yeah.
They actually arrest him, and he lets himself get arrested and all that, but it does. And she sees him die in the next fucking film.
Right. And as a mom, I don't care like what age your kid is. You can't, there's no mom out there who doesn't live in constant mom fear. Like, all the time. I just lay in bed sometimes and I'm like, what if something's happening right now? And I know he's safe and he's across the house and I can hear his little breaths through the monitor. Like, I know he's there, but it is almost a constant state of fear. And I don't know how moms don't go insane, because we just do. So for them to go through something like that, but they had to know that was always a possibility. And so, yeah, they're going to put his safety first.
So in conclusion, fuck you, Jeff Johns, and your fucking dialogue and shit, and your comic book.
Getting your friends to be this mean girls club.
And then they all get mad when we yell at them. It's like, fuck you. You're the one who started this shit. Now you get to pay for it. This is how this works. You don't get to be a victim when you go after and attack Zach and his movies. That's fucking bullshit. You're not the victim. You're on Twitter. Guess what? You're open to rebuttals. You're open to boycotts. There's certain creators I won't buy books from anymore. So there you have it.
Hiding behind your computer screen, just typing away on Twitter, because Twitter makes it easy to be a nasty individual.
It's a little fun being toxic, though.
No, don't tell me that. I don't want to know that about you, if that's what you're doing. I don't want to know. Let me think of you as this amazing man.
But there you have it. That is our block of news this week. A lot of drama with the Amber Heard stuff, the Jeff Johns being a baby, a lot going on right now in the world that we enjoy. And it's very interesting. Again, this year, as I've said for the last year, is going to be a fascinating one. But let's head on over into the Brokept block, which is what PALPAKELli and I have been doing since you last heard us. So PALPAKELli, what's been going on since episode 500?
Shoo! So it was what, 5 weeks ago?
Yeah, about 4.5.
4.5 weeks ago. Well, I've been sick 4 times since then. It feels like it. I've been sick a lot. So I'm sure those of you who are longtime Brokettes can hear my voice. I am so congested. Leo just keeps bringing stuff home, and I love him for it. But it's been a lot. There's just a lot of sickness going around. But work's in a really good place right now. I'm stepping out to work on a project that's going to take a few weeks, and I'm really excited for that, but it does allow my schedule to be a little more flexible. A lot of reading. I finished 2 books in the last 2 days, if you were wondering, and they were both chef kiss fantastic, and I'm just very happy and in love right now. That's pretty much it. So working out at the gym, still doing. I'm a boring person. I don't know how the Brokeheads don't know this about me by now.
Well, we got to see The Marksman, the latest, not the latest, but one of the newer Liam Neeson movies. The Blacklight is in theaters right now, supposedly, but it's about to go on Vudu at some point, and people are saying it's awful, but I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's Liam Neeson. Marksman, though, came out last year.
Okay.
It is I love the plots in these. Like, I love just reading the synopsis. It's a retired Marine Corps marksman or sniper, whatever they want to call him, who is just trying to live his life in his ranch, but he's behind on his car or on his house payments because his wife passed away and she had cancer, and the hospital bills wiped him out completely, and he can't pay for his home, and the banks are coming after him, and it's like, why can't you just let Liam Neeson grieve and live his life? But then he gets pulled into this plot of these immigrants that are coming in from across the border who are being chased by the cartel, the evil cartel with their face tattoos. One of them literally has a cobra like going up his neck and across his fucking forehead and shit. So they're bad guys. And so he is committed to helping this little boy and using his skills as a marksman to one more time go out there and protect this child and kill cartel members along the way.
And he's got to get the boy up to Chicago, and he's entrusted with him because the boy's mom dies. And Liam Neeson feels that his dead wife is pushing him on this journey.
That's right. Yeah, yes. He does mention that. So it sounds like every Liam Neeson film, and I love it.
Yes.
And then I'm like, yeah, this is great.
He's got a special set of skills. That's all. He does. That should just be the synopsis for every Liam Neeson movie. He has a special set of skills, and he has to use them. Bum, 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 bum.
Always he's a widower, like almost in every one of these. So if you like Liam Neeson films, go watch The Marksman. It's on Vudu. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but on Vudu you can watch it for $3. And since you were last on, we started watching Next Level Chef, which is one of the newer Chef Ramsay shows, from what I understand. We got access to Hulu through your parents, and we saw all the Chef Ramsay shit, like the latest seasons of Hell's Kitchen and all of that. And we're like, all right, well, we've got a lot to catch up on. So we're giving this Next Level Chef a try. The whole gimmick is there's 3 floors. The top floor is like the nicest equipment, and you get first pick of the ingredients, second floor, then third floor. Third floor is the worst kitchen.
A basement.
Basically a basement. It's got crummy equipment. It's not the best. Middle is middle, whatever. So that's the whole gimmick, is they switch the teams up, and the 3 judges also have 3 teams. So they're trying to help out their cooks, but not really, because they need people eliminated. They give them suggestions, and it's up to the cooks to execute it. I think it's kind of neat. Like I like, it's not my favorite concept. I like MasterChef more because it's more like drama filled as far as, oh my God, who's going to get eliminated? It's more pressure. This is the whole gimmick here is just the 3 fucking floors.
Yeah, I felt like they were kind of trying to tie in some pieces of The Voice too, where they're really coaching them and supporting them. And they're really not. They just walk around and they're like, this is really sweet. And they're like, oh yeah, it'll be fine, chef. And then it's not fine. I will say it's pretty predictable. You can tell who's going to get eliminated when they go into like that final round, right? To see. So we are maybe not quite halfway through, but it definitely seems like it's ramping up, and we're going to see some more people get eliminated. But it's really cool to see, obviously, and the middle kitchen is like a standard kitchen that you would see in a restaurant. And funnily Interestingly enough, there we go. People usually do really well there because it's stuff that they're used to, which I having worked around food in a kitchen, like I do like to see that aspect of it. Like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Of course you do better there because you're used to that equipment. But to see what some people can do in the basement too with like literally nothing.
Right.
And see the true talent. So I've already picked out who I think is going to win the whole thing. I picked it out from the first one. And you can always tell, like, do they show their whole backstory or just their TikTok videos or whatever. So it is pretty fun to watch. I think it's great publicity for them too, because most of them are TikTok chefs. And so now they're going to have all these different followers from people who watch it. And it's always great to see Ramsay and Blaze or whatever his name. His hair just gets bigger every episode.
He's like the discount Conan O'Brien.
Yep. Just gets bigger and bigger. So we'll finish that up, and then I think we should dive back into MasterChef, Hell's Kitchen. I don't know.
Hell's Kitchen. I want to see an angry Chef Ramsay. Like, we need to switch up. Judge Chef Ramsay. He's fine. Whatever. But I want to see him yell at cooks and get mad and then switch back
You're
over
an
to
idiot
something
sandwich.
else. All of that. I love that shit where he throws fuck off and he throws the get out.
I love when he smashes scallops with his
Yes.
hands. It's raw.
It's still breathing.
Those are some great Chef Ramsay moments.
And then I can pick out the guy that's like the funniest chef. And I'm like, I hope he makes it.
Raj is still always your favorite. I don't even remember what season he was from.
You always pick out the one cast member that you're like, that's your favorite, isn't it? And it's someone that did something funny during the elimination round and he barely made it.
Or during anything, he's just so funny. And, let me eat the leftovers because I'm hungry. I'm hot. Let me stick my head in a fridge.
Yeah, that was great. And I'm like, just let him, Ramsay. What else? What do you need him for right now? Like, what do you really need him for?
He needs to be focused.
Food's good. Well, that was the funny that's what frustrated me. Like, he did that. He ate the leftover, the bad food, and then he stuck his head in the freezer because he was too hot. But they won that round. Like, they all did their job, and he cooked his shit, and it all got out. But they still eliminated him, even though his team lost.
Because
I'm like, that's bullshit, chef.
Professional. Let me ask you. You go to a 5-star restaurant, and you look in the back of the kitchen, and somebody's just eating the food back there. You would laugh. You would be like, this is funny. If you're paying
you have to taste everything.
No, he's not tasting. He's eating. He's leaning against the counter and eating. Like, no, have some professionalism, please.
That especially pissed me off because I'm like, follow your own rules, Ramsay. The red team lost, so the red team gets someone eliminated.
At least the red team was all professional. Raj was sticking his head in fridges.
Professionals that couldn't cook like Raj could.
Raj couldn't cook. He made that seafood pancake.
He could actually cook. He was decent. That's the funny thing about it. That's why he kept going.
I don't think he was. There were just other people that were worse than him.
See, he wasn't even the worst.
Okay.
For me, since last week, I am making a career change. So I'm still waiting for the post office to give me a call and maybe get a gig there. But in the meantime, this current job, there's been a lot of dominoes falling and not enough fixes. Like, it just seems like the things that have been happening in this food stand have not been getting fixed at a moderate rate. So it's making our jobs a lot harder. And that just frustrated me where I was just like, all right, I've got to move on from this because there's no initiative to improve things at a quick enough pace. And I don't know. I got frustrated with it. Absolutely. So made the decision, put in my notice, and do have another place lined up almost right away. Hasn't been signed or anything. Nothing's been actually formally confirmed. But once that happens, I'll update all of you on here. But until then, hoping for, obviously, USPS, hoping that this new place works out, of course. And just taking that all one day at a time. Because if I anticipate anything or wait for anything, I'm going to end up getting disappointed or get too anxious or whatever. So I'm just happy that there is something at least lined up. I will go a week without work. So that's going to take a bit of a hit on my finances, unfortunately. And that's just been the reality, though. Ever since I left the comic shop, there's been some financial fear, and that's learning how to deal with that is not something that I'm sure will be the last time I'll have to. So if you're a Patreon backer, I appreciate it a lot because this is an expense I definitely don't need is the podcast. but having a Patreon helps with that a bit. So huge thanks if you are a Patreon backer, and if you're even considering it, now's a great time to join. There's great benefits. There's early episodes every single week. There's exclusive episodes that come out. So patreon.com/thereasonsI'mbroke. Do you have anything else on your end that you wanted to touch on before we sign off for this week?
Not unless y'all want to hear about my books. You're like, nope, we're good.
That's it. Go ahead and let them know where they can find you.
I'm on Twitter at PALPAKELLI. I check it once a month. But you can certainly follow me on there. That's Kelly spelled with an I.
And if you have Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, My Hero Academia cards, whatever it is, TCG cards that you want to get graded, head on over to treefroggrading.com. Those are our latest partners with the podcast. If you head on over to treefroggrading.com, send in your cards and use the coupon code BROKE, you get 5% off, and it helps us out a little bit. So thank you so much. That's once again treefroggrading.com. You can also find us at thereasonsimbroke.com. You will find a link near the bottom of the page to our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything. That's all right there at thereasonsimbroke.com. But thank you so much for joining us this week. I've been Daniel, joined by
Emperor PALPAKELLI
and Brocat Core. All will be well. So I know you haven't really been following this Amber Heard Johnny Depp case, even though it's out there. You can watch all of it right online. You can see the highlights. How come that hasn't really interested you at all? It seems like everyone is kind of talking about it. And you being a fan of Pirates of the Caribbean, Johnny Depp, Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, I'm in that place in my life. I usually just read the Cliff Notes version of things. I'm definitely following it through you. You're letting me know what's going on. We have watched a few clips of them, but I don't know. I've kind of fallen out of the celebrity gossip, I guess, as you grow older. I'm sure that you've talked about this on the show. There's so many things competing for your attention. It's just, okay, what's the most important, right? I have my family and my work, and then what do I need to do to relax, and what's going to get me there in the quickest amount of time with the small amount of time that I have. And so I mostly just fill my days with reading. That's what I do. I read, I scroll Facebook a little bit. I see Cliff Notes on things that are going on in the celebrity world, etc. But then I also know that unless I'm watching it for myself, are the Cliff Notes really accurate, right? So I just listen through you.
Rooting for Johnny Depp, though, in this case?
Always.
Do you have a horse in this race?
Well, I mean, I'm always going to root for Johnny Depp unless he really did those things. But it sounds like she's just a psycho from what I've seen. So I definitely hope that he comes out on top, that, you know, people kind of change their opinion of him. Because even from the beginning, it felt like he got the short end of the stick, right? It came out that she did all these things and he was still the one who paid for it. And she got to continue doing what she was doing. And I'm all for, usually men have it better than women, but this is taking it too far the other direction. And like, no, I would just rather it be fair.
Recasting in Justice League Part 2?
Yeah, probably.
New Amber Heard? New Mara?
Yeah.
Same with Ezra Miller, maybe, with The Flash?
You said that he got arrested. I don't know what he did.
That's the thing. Yeah, he got arrested for assault. From what I heard, he threw a chair and it hit this 19-year-old woman, and the forehead caused a half-inch cut on her forehead there, and he got arrested for that. He was asked to leave, and he decided to throw a chair in frustration or whatever. That's just from what I'm reading. That's one of the funny things is Twitter's like, so where are these Snyder fans with accountability over entertainment? It's like, he got arrested. He was held accountable. We're talking about the guys that didn't get held accountable, like Jeff Johns, like Pedo James Gunn, like Walter Hamada, Toby Emmerich. These guys are not being held accountable. That's what we're talking about. So for me, if Ezra ends up getting the help he needs, assuming all of this is true, all of everything that everyone is saying, he's 100% in the wrong, all of that, gets the help that he needs, and is maybe able to come back, have a little comeback role when this eventually films in a couple of years. Justice League 2 and 3, I'm assuming he's going to do them back to back. But if not, yeah, get a recast, get someone else as Barry Allen. Someone else absolutely is. I think it would be very bizarre to see, now that this is all going on, to see Amber Heard be brought back for Justice League Part 2 and 3. And we know Zack is not shy about getting rid of people that have been doing... We saw it with Army of the Dead. Someone got recast there. So
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see her get recast. I really think that you could either change out the character or just change out the actor entirely. It wasn't like it was the Johnny Depp in Fantastic Beasts, right? Which they did with no problem in recasting him. But her role is small enough. And at the end of the day, Snyder has such a big following that they're going to, whatever he does, right, we're going to be supportive of and just excited that he's able to continue his universe and move that forwards. But I definitely do think she needs to be held accountable to the same degree that Johnny Depp was held accountable, even more so, because she gaslighted the world and told us we were all crazy and that she was in the right. And then it's, we're hearing all these videos of, well, yeah, I guess I did hit you. I guess I was abusive. Yeah, well, but it didn't really hurt you.
I didn't punch you, but I did
right.
hit you.
and so you're physically and emotionally abusive. And so, no, you shouldn't be seen in this great light and continuing to receive the success that you are when you do that.
It does look like Johnny Depp dodged a bullet, though, with Fantastic Beasts, with that new one.
Oh, yeah?
Not doing well at the box office. No! I hear it's terrible. I hear it might kill off the Fantastic... it ends in a way where it's not a cliffhanger. Where, this could be it.
Yeah, it's done. It's done.